Good morning, folks. How are we today? As you know, it's Wednesday morning, and this is when David plays the Stooge. And I pull up the headlines which he hasn't seen, and he's to try and decipher the story. Alright, now as you know, folks, with David, it's a bit hit and miss when it comes to this particular segment of the show, but we'll bring him in right after the intro. Okay, so it's Indie Truck Davy out the truck and at home in his office in Salisbury, North Lanarkshire, where it is overcast, dry, muggy, 17 degrees. The pollen count today is moderate, and the main allergen is mugwort. So there you go, folks. You maybe got a wee bit of chance of a relief and not have to take your antihistamines this morning, the way I have to take mine, because my eyes get really itchy and sore, and I get a runny nose because of the hay fever. Fucking horrible stuff. Anyway, let's bring in the other one, then we'll do a wee bit of talking about your charity work, folks. Okay. Right, let's go and get the other one. Good morning, other one.
Stooge. I'll stooge you. Huh?
Well, that's the whole concept of the programme. You're the dumb guy walking into the news agency seeing the headlines and no buying the paper.
Hang on a sec. Just to let you in, kids, into what we're talking about. We're talking about behaving like someone who lives in the 21st century, right?
Tell you fuck off,
and-
it's poverty and horror.
Yeah, and David ascribes to dressed himself and all the rest of it. Seems he's done 1971.
Not quite
that's
true,
why-
1983
that's
actually.
The changeover to from pound shillings and pence to pounds and pence is David remembers that because that's the last thing.
That was 1972. Get a grip, you know. And I still dress like I did in 1983. T-shirt, jeans, and a pair of boots. All right, nothing wrong with that.
Dear,
And
dear.
when your manscaping shite, you can stick that up your bahookie tay.
Do you
Guy,
still wear flares? I can't see them, but do you still wear flares? I bet you do.
Flares? What you fucking talk about? I'm not that old, pal. That's your generation.
And he
Get
irons,
yourself and pickle up.
he irons his fucking jeans. He irons his, there's a crease line down the front of his jeans.
There was in the 80s, there isn't new. Anyway,
right, go on.
Right, before we move on to covering the news, folks, I had to take a wee trip into Motherwell yesterday, so the couple of charities I had the details for, I went and made the transfer. While doing that, I got a mini print out and ordered the last 3 years' bank statement so we can tell you exactly where your money's went out the last 3 years. Every single outfit you've helped. Because Jesus Christ, folks, the work you have done to feed our community the last 3 years has been amazing. But I want to talk to you about it. There will also, folks, that you'll not be aware of. We have bank details on the page. So it's not just revenue coming from super chats. And there are some real generous people among you. They're obviously wanting to keep it quiet because they make a direct payment into the bank. But there are some of you who are very, very generous. There's a couple of you who actually give us more than what we earn for super chats, which is amazing. So we'd like to thank you and just see you notice that a register of who you've given to and the books are coming. I've ordered them.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
We know you trust us.
Yeah, but it's a case of being extra special open.
Yes,
about it because it's always trust is one thing, but trust can be built on.
Yes,
That's
and
important.
David would have had this information on an annual basis for us if it wasn't for his inability to get up to his computer where all the accounts are held and his man cave. So I've physically ordered them from the bank. They're coming in 10 days' time. The bank's going to phone me and I'm going to go down and pick them up. But while I'm there, we're going to go through them together.
Yeah.
The bank and I. And that way, at the end of it, we'll be able to say, and by the way, the cost of the account was X amount.
Yeah.
Okay. Because up until about a year ago,
we've kept it at the same bank since we started.
Aye. Up until a year ago, you and I were covering the bank charges.
Yeah.
But we aren't anymore. The account covers that because David's not getting income anymore, and the charges can be quite expensive for a business account. Right. So that information's all coming, folks. All right. Okay, David. Let's get started. First up this morning, folks, we have the Daily Fail. Let's see what the Fail's got for us this morning. David, I would be surprised if you haven't seen this in the mainstream news. I know you watch television.
I haven't. All I've done is that one article this morning.
Well, anyway, there's got two main headlines. Starmer is like Monty Python's Black Knight, barely able to nip at Macron's ankles. And this article was written by Sarah Vine. Now, do you know what that's about, David?
I know that Macron. No, I don't. The answer is no.
Right, you know Macron was on a state visit yesterday.
Yeah.
But while he was here, Starmer was looking for a one-in, one-out immigration policy.
Yeah.
Well, Macron said to him, "Sorry, mate, there's no bilateral treatment here. We're in the EU. You deal with us as a bloc." So his one-in, one-out is right out the fucking Monday.
Yeah.
Now, the main headline: Post Office has blood on its hands over 13 suicides. A rising scandal report blasts bosses.
Yeah. That's to do with the post office scandal. It's ridiculous. It really
The
is.
report was released yesterday, David. This is the autopsy.
Yeah.
Now, 50 odd people in the report. It says 50 odd people tried suicide, and 13 of them were successful. And the judge then, in his summation as well, the guy who did the report was talking about the terrible distress that the postmasters went through.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't just a case of losing the money. It was a case of losing their self-respect.
Yep.
Losing people looking at them as if you're a criminal.
Aye. Well, your dignity. You're standing in the community, the whole fucking lot.
Yeah.
A lot of them lost their wives, their businesses.
Yes, that's right.
I mean, BBC Scotland, Radio Scotland, did the guy on yesterday in the lunchtime programme, and to hear what he went through, the breakdown of his family, the death of his wife, living rough, the mental illness that went with it was fucking horrific story.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. There's a few of the papers are on this one. Let's move on. Next up, we'll get Scotsman. And the Scotsman has Scots victims of post office scandal call for payment now. Report of inquiry into Horizon IT failures lays bare scale of suffering.
Stephen Flynn tried to table this in the House of Commons, and it was immediately thrown out.
Well, you know, they won't pay the wash for women either, David.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Of course it is. Of course it is. As I say, but a few of the papers are on this, David. So next one up, we've got the Only Raggy Express, and it's on the same story. So we'll put it up. And it's got at least 59 wrongly accused sub-postmasters say they contemplated suicide. The number I read was 50, but obviously 59, 50, it's close enough. Inquiry found 13 lives likely lost due to Horizon scandal. That's fucking horrific, David.
Yeah.
You know, horrific.
And who was a company involved in the thing, just to make sure that we've got all everybody involved? Was it
Mitsubishi?
Right.
They wrote the software.
Yeah.
But that gets more interesting when we get another one of these headlines, David, covering the same subject. And the reason why it gets more interesting is because that calls for managers to be held to account. But unfortunately, that won't happen because who owned the post office at the time and who commissioned the software?
Yeah.
The government. Okay, right. Next up we have.
My memory of it's slightly different. I had Fujitsu in my head.
Next up we have the Herald.
Yeah.
And the Herald has emergency calls to duel at least the A9 has 300 hurt in the last 4 years. What do you make of that story, David?
Interesting story. We should have had the to do it, but you know, walking by it in the supermarket, I would look at it and go, "Oh, very good, right? Who's calling for it? Who's calling for it?" At the end of the day, that's as much as I know.
Well, you know exactly how I'm going to treat this. I'm going to say I didn't know we had 300 bad drivers in the country. Well, roads don't kill, roads don't hurt. They're inanimate fucking objects. You drive to the conditions and you make sure your vehicle is fit for the fucking road.
But the A9 is also a place where you find a lot of tourists.
It's also a place you find a lot of fucking idiots.
No, tourists who drive on the other side of the road.
Aye.
And I've actually seen, I've been in a position where up that side of the country, I've actually seen somebody coming towards me on the wrong side of a dual carriageway.
David, I'm a professional driver. I've seen it all.
I mean, what I did was I immediately just pulled in at the side and let them get by me, right? Simple as that, you know.
Well, as I say, roads are inanimate. They don't kill, they don't hurt.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
So, for me, the story really there is 300 bad drivers on A9.
Unless of course, they get back holes in them. Yeah, that's...
George McIntosh, there is no such thing as a dangerous road. Roads are inanimate objects.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
It's the user who is dangerous, not the inanimate object.
Yeah.
As a man who's been a professional driver for many years and I like to remember, make sure that you're fit, your machine's fit, and that you drive to conditions.
Yes. And that's the important one, is driving to conditions. It doesn't matter whether it's a tarmac road or whether it's a dirt track.
Yes.
You drive to the conditions.
As a professional driver of many years, David, I have always said this, you've heard me say this down through the years, roads are not dangerous.
However, we've got a thing where the A19, pressure has been put on to finish the A9, dueling of the A9, right?
Yeah, that's because the SNP said they were going to do it and then their funding get cut. The usual unionist shite.
No, but you got to look at this and go, if this was England, it'd have been done.
Right, we should have the metro next, but yep, next up we'll get a metro, so let's find the metro. And the metro's back on the Horizon scandals. Judge scathing Horizon report revealed 13 suicides linked to post office scandal. And it says that the bosses should be prosecuted. That's the smaller line there. But as I say, the reason that will not happen is because it was the government at the time, I think it was a Labour government, and this is a fine example of how shite governments are on a transition from non-digital to digital. Because if we look at every time the Scottish government in the 25 years that's been around, the English government have asked companies to come in and sort out their technology, they've ended up overpriced, years out, and fucking stuff that doesn't work. And that's the consequence of it. But there'll be nobody held to justice for this because it was the government of the day.
Just going further on from what you said, dead simple. Do you remember the Big Bang in the stock exchange? Remember what happened there?
No.
Basically what happened, the whole thing hiccuped. And the stock exchange went like that.
Oh, you're right, freedom for Scotland. It wasn't Mitsubishi, it was Fujitsu. Do beg your pardon. David, thanks for correcting me. Come on, Stephen. Right, that was the metro. Next up, we'll get the Times. Let's see what the Times has got for us this morning. As time gets on. Right, rising debt threatens to swamp UK economy. David, that's the main headline. What do you make of
that? If I knew nothing, I'd go, oh, that's interesting, right? Swamp UK economy, right? Rising debt. Are we talking like personal debt, or are we talking about government debt? Are we talking about both? You don't know until you read the article and the angle it's put on it. So there you are.
Well, actually, David, they're talking about B, and when you get right into it, when you get to the basic, is people are no paid enough, so they're actually using debt to survive.
But that's been the case since the 1980s, David.
I know, you know, but that's how we know
credit cards. People max their credit cards out. Aye. Fuck, America maxes its credit card out
every other day, I know.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
Lorraine, thank you for the super chat. No kid starvers under our watch. We are Scottish, never British. That's very true, Lorraine.
Maureen, thank you, darling. Thank you very much. That's wonderful.
Hey. Morning, Solari.
So I don't know. I don't know why he's anything to do with this, but I saw a really nice picture of Starmer. Supposed to be outside number 10 with his little podium, and all of a sudden, Larry the cat had enough of him, and it jumped on him, started clawing his face, and he fell over.
my God, that
Yeah.
would be Larry.
Yeah.
Right, anyway, let's get the times done. We'll move on to the eye. Okay. What's the eye go for us this morning? Let's have a quick look. Because we have to keep our viewers informed, David. This isn't just an entertainment show. UK state pension triple lock. The end is in sight.
I paid in all these years. I even had like 45 staff working for me where I paid for theirs and paid all the rest of it, right? And here am I. I'm an old man, and they're gonna end up taking it away from me. I end up begging on the street with a mine up a wee metal cup of Amazon that I can buy, and that'll do me.
You and I were talking about this 12 years ago, and I said to you, because the workplace pension had been in for a few years, that's the end of the state pension, David.
Yeah.
I think I even remember saying to you 12 years ago that I'd probably be the last to get a state pension.
Yeah. Yeah.
We've been talking about this for many, many years, over a decade.
Yeah.
And this doesn't surprise me.
The guy I'm most angry about is fucking Gordon Brown. He's a guy he shoved the knife in first, and it's like Gordon Brown in my eyes and in every other pensioner's eyes should be persona non grata. Simple as that.
I have to agree with you there, David. It was Gordon Brown when he unring fenced the National Insurance Fund and allowed them to dip into it.
Yeah.
Hey, it was horrendous. We can see it. I mean, back then, you and I didn't know each other that long back, but I bet you and I were sitting looking at their screens and saying, we can see the car crash coming.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Right, so that was the eye. Next up, we'll get the Guardian. Let's see what that piece of junk's got for us this morning, shall we? The so-called liberal left rag. Limit trials by jury to save justice system from collapse, says a report.
Cost cutting. That's all it says to me.
Aye, but you know, when you take that to its further conclusion, you ever seen the cartoon Judge Dredd?
Oh yeah, when he just goes on, right, you're guilty, bang. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that's the conclusion of this sort of thing.
Yeah, I know.
One man justice.
Yeah.
One man decides.
That's right.
One man decides your fate.
Yeah.
That's Judge Dredd these fuckers are talking about.
You know, do you know who agrees with that?
Trial by your peers is the whole idea of trial, David.
It's in the picture below that, sitting outside with his hand up like that, right? He agrees with that. He agrees with Judge Dredd type, justice.
But as I say, when you take that to its conclusion, that's where you're at. One man decides your fucking fate instead of your peer of your a council of your peers.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so you get one guy sitting in judgment. It's about like going to the county court or the local court, except for accelerating up to serious cases.
Yeah.
You know, it's like going in front of the justice of the peace for a driving offence.
Sometime in the future, I can imagine that instead of jury trials, you'll have trial by artificial intelligence. In actual fact, it might be a bit more effective because the artificial intelligence doesn't get tired of facts, and is provided with the correct facts, it should come up with the correct answer.
You're right, Alex. It is the end of, and we have seen this being talked about here as well, especially in the case of rape cases. Yeah. But I'm not in favour of the idea that in serious non-civil offences that you leave the judgment in the hands of one person.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's just not on for me.
some batty old judge somewhere going, oh, yeah.
Aye, and by the time they get to be a high court judge,
I-
they're all fucking senile. It's taken them that long to climb to the top of a fucking tree.
You stole that loaf of bread, so I'm sending you to Australia. You can't do that anymore, my lord. We'll send you to prison for 100 years. How's with that? You know, folks.
Aye.
Anyway.
Well, I'm Monty Python sketch. Anyway, next up with the Telegraph. So here we go, folks. Macron to blame PM for small boat crisis. Well, PM's the right person to blame, but it's the wrong fucking PM. We want to pin this one on David Cameron.
Well, the thing I saw the other day there was the gendarmerie ripping into boats that were setting sail on the channel. Did you see that?
Yes, but that was just a wee publicity stunt because Macron
Yes.
is going out for a visit.
I appreciate it was a wee publicity stunt, but it's something that, to protect people. And my idea is not to sideway the Farages of this world or whatever, right? It's purely simply to protect people. Set up a proper immigration place across there, and the people should be actually picked up by the government, right? Yeah. Never mind small boats. You're getting taken a big car ferry or whatever, right?
Well, that was Starmer's idea. Any of them with family in the UK could come across, but all the rest of them had to go back.
Yeah.
That was Starmer's one in, one out. It wasn't one in. It was one with family in, the rest out. You know what I mean? But Macron's just telling them, we're in the EU, we negotiate as a bloc, and fuck off.
Yeah. And they have to negotiate with a bloc as a bloc, because once in the EU, those people that are sent back across can go anywhere.
Now, the National, folks, has got the best headlines of the day, so we'll pop it up. Here comes the National. Israel Gaza concentration camp plan a sticking point according to Lamy.
This I've read. This I've actually put up on my timeline. It was sent to us by Chris Wilson, and it's like I just couldn't believe what I was reading. Lamy is is paid for by Israel. He's a weak man, and he works under the auspice of another weak man, Starmer, who is also paid for by Israel. And effectively, instead of going, they're doing what? They're forming a concert. Right, get our lads across there and get that thing sorted out so we don't have a concentration camp, right? Instead of doing that, he went, oh, it's a bit of a sticking point, isn't it? That's what he said. That's what he actually said. He called it a sticking point.
Oh, hold on. Just don't put that down, David. There's more headlines there. The next one's even better. But on Lamy and the sticking point, it also covers what Tony Blair's been up to, because they want to clear the people out except for small enclaves where they can put them in reasonably cheap housing
Slavery.
and allow them in and out controlled to service the rich in their new Mediterranean fucking
playground. Their name for it is slavery.
Slavery. Correct, David. Correct. Now, let's have a look at the main headline. Rats and black mould, no food, dirty clothes. Dickensian poverty and harrowing accounts of hardship in England. England's Children's Commissioner calls for benefit cap to end. Wow, David. Wow. You're talking about the 1950s in Scotland there in England right now.
Yeah, all right, okay.
You know, rats, black mould, they haven't invested in their social housing, they haven't invested in their housing stock.
We have some bad
food banks.
In Scotland, we have some bad areas, some bad housing.
We have some depravity, aye, but nowhere near that. And Maximilian Robespierre in this programme last night was talking about deprived areas. And he says that some of them are in Wales, the most deprived areas, and I went, no, all 10 of them are in England. I even typed all 10 of them out.
In Scotland, it's the private landlords. It's the private landlords. It's the scum landlords that do it, where they're buying. They're just looking at it as a way whereby they can scoop money out of the poor, End of
Yep.
story, right? And you end up with houses that shouldn't be lived in unless they're actually done up properly. And take it or leave it is the words that the scum landlords are using. Well, obviously, when you don't have a roof over your head, you take it.
Aye.
Bad news. Poor people.
That
Poor
is
people
bad
are
news.
having to deal with this. Ridiculous.
Anyway, the bottom line there is UK government could trample all over Scots social security system, expert says. Well, that's no surprise to any, as after all, they control the purse strings, don't they? And if things are so much better here in Scotland than what they are in England, they won't want that because unionists like us all to suffer together.
That's right.
Now, David, the interesting thing is, it's the Orange Order being a pain in the arse in your streets this week. Now, I come back to the shop on Saturday. I picked myself up a fish up. I was a bit annoyed because I come running into the street. I had to park at the far end of the street to this lot go by. But while they were going by, I watched them. And I've never seen such a threadbare, dirty-looking, ill-kept bunch of fucks in all my life. The
Well,
uniforms were all old, second-hand, dirty. Their hats were ill-fitting.
yeah.
They're
Yeah,
quite
well,
obviously the poorest of our society.
it says a lot to me when at the moment the big bit of news from across in Ireland, is or East Belfast, is this blooming bonfire that's been built.
Aye.
You look at it and you go, what a waste of wood. That wood could be used for goodness knows what. At the end of the day.
What's interesting about these bonfires they build there, David, most of them are stolen ship pallets, the blue pallets.
Yeah, 10 quid a piece.
But
10
here's the
quid a
thing, the
piece.
minute they set that on fire, they're endangering everybody around about them because they're treated with formaldehyde.
Well, look what happened. Look, we reported on one such circumstance where a lady was wakened up by her dog because
Bushfire.
obviously sparks came across
Aye.
and set fire to a house. What's going to happen with this? Have you seen the eye of it?
Oh, that happens every year. They set fire to the fucking neighbours' houses.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
you've seen the height of this bonfire,
I've seen it.
and you think to yourself, why are they doing that? Why don't they do
Right in the middle
something?
of the housing scheme to David. It's always the fucking same.
Yeah,
But
It's-
hey,
people
as
are
I say,
misled.
the Orange
So,
Order, I was watching them, David, and I've never seen such an unkempt bunch.
no, but
You can tell that
the,
the uniforms they were wearing had been passed down from generation to generation to
yeah,
generation.
I know,
They've
but
never been replaced.
there
You know
are
what I mean?
people that are sadly misled. There are more important things in this world than blooming celebrating a fucking skirmish that took place like 300 and odd years ago.
That's no it, David. That's no why they do it. That's the Union's show of strength. That's their paramilitary. That's why they have paramilitary uniforms. And that's also why they look like a bunch of knobheads. Because none of them fit a uniform, none of them look fit to fight, you know.
But so therefore, my phrase misguided is
Aye,
correct.
aye, it's correct. Right, now, we've only got one paper left, folks. There's a couple of papers missing out the review. But that's what the three main news channels put up for me to steal, to pick out the front pages of. It's easier to steal it for them than what it is to go and dig it up myself. Although I could, and I often have to, especially if I'm sitting with my mobile phone and nothing else. But anyway,
Out of today, the two main stories about the people that have committed suicide over the Horizon scandal, and the other one is the concentration camp. Can't believe I'm
well, for
saying
me,
this.
the main stories for the
Concentration
day.
camp to be built in Gaza. And do the Jews not have a memory that goes back to concentration camps that were built by the Nazis in the Second World War?
I'm
Do they
more
not look
surprised
at
that
them?
Lammy is a.
This blooming Premier Katz has actually made it obvious what he's doing. It's a concentration camp.
Where does Hitler get the idea for?
Yeah,
He got the idea for the English,
yeah,
who were using concentration camps in the African continent way before fucking the Second World War.
yeah. All right, okay, but But at the same time, the big news one was the concentration camps. The
For
Jews
you,
were.
the big one for me was extreme poverty in England and this Horizon scandal. It's funny how these things affect us differently. What we see is the main news differently, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that's bang on 11 o'clock, David, and that was quite an interesting one this morning.
Okay. Yeah, good.
Okay. Now,
Also, don't forget Fujitsu. Fujitsu got a lot of skin in this.
aye,
It's
we get
they-
through. But more
they-
importantly, the call for managers to be held to account. Well, guess what? That's the UK government. That ain't going to happen.
yeah.
In fact, it's the actual minister at the time when the scandal broke. Do you know who it was, David?
Gov.
Ed Davey, the leader of the Lib Dem. It was the Tory Lib Dem coalition government.
And who's Ed Davey hooked up with?
No, tell me.
Oh, the Home Office Minister at the moment.
Oh, Vic Cooper.
Yes.
Was that his bub? Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
You get a neo-Nazi and a fucking idiot and the one who's that? Oh, you're doing well.
Yeah, Vic Cooper, I believe, and
I'll let you two decide what one's what.
Yeah. No, sorry, I've got it wrong. It was Ed Balls.
Ed Balls, aye.
Ed Balls that got the
Yes. Ed Davey's no interest enough for a
bit. I did go a bit of a scatter about inside there, opening filing drawers, and I went, oh no, fuck
that happens at your age, you know. I've got all that to look forward to.
Young man,
right.
please keep your place. There you go.
Okay, right, listen, folks, thanks very much for tuning in. That's enough of this for him and I get into it. Hey, back tomorrow morning and then tomorrow afternoon again. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining me this morning, David. Your contribution today was really interesting. And the point that you see the main stories differently from me as well reflects how different people reflect on the news, which is a good thing as well.
Right.
Yeah. So, thanks, guys. See you all tomorrow morning, 10:30. Don't be late. Thanks for your contributions to the food bank. Fun. And as I say, there is a set of books coming, and there'll be a list of people, the list of all the organisations that you've helped in the last 3 years, and the total amount you've contributed to
And
help.
one final thing, I support Palestine Action.
Yes, we all support Palestine Action. Get it up, ye, Yvette Cooper.